Okay, so welcome again. Happy Halloween, everybody. I see some folks are dressed up and some are as themselves, and all of those versions are awesome. So I'm so excited to be making some delicious Halloween treats with you all today. Um, so in case you are just joining us for the first time, you haven't been in the class before, I'll just introduce myself and Culikid. I'm Kelly. I'm Culikid's executive director. And Culikid is a nonprofit that's based in New York City, and we provide culinary programs for people of all abilities. And our programs aim to teach healthy habits and social and independent skills. I want to also let you know that this class is being recorded, as I mentioned. So if you don't wish to be in the recording and you don't wish to be in screenshots and pictures, you can turn your camera off. But it's super helpful for us to be able to see everybody, what you're doing, so we can guide you, see how everybody's progressing with the steps and answer your questions. So if you're comfortable, go ahead and keep your camera on so we can cook all together. Or let us know in the chat if you're keeping your camera on but don't want to be in screenshots. Okay, so that being said, we actually use our chat to communicate a lot through the class, especially with a big class like this. So you are muted. If you have a question or want to say something, you can unmute yourself, but you can also use the chat to ask questions and follow along. So let's practice that now. And if you are dressed up, you can say what you're dressed up as. So go ahead and type your name and what you're dressed up as, or what you're going to be dressed up as, or what you were dressed up as, or maybe just what you'd like to be. So go ahead and enter that into the chat so we can see who's with us and who all our costumes are, and that's always fun. Okay, lastly, we have some upcoming classes. We have a lot, so I'm not going to send the links to all of them. I'll send the links to where you can find all of the links. We've got this month chicken and veggie pot pie, dinner rolls. In December, we're going to have a Hanukkah latkes class and a holiday breakfast for dinner class. And we have an upcoming free nutrition webinar for caregivers. All of those links will be sent in the chat so that way you can join us for all of those free resources. Anybody in New York City who is an adult, we also have an upcoming in-person cookies and cocktails fundraiser on December 15th that we'd love you to join us for. Again, all of that's going to be in the chat very shortly. And if you are cooking with somebody, encourage them to take pictures and send them to us, tag us, and all of that. So we can see what you're making, all the fun you're having, and also who you're dressed up as. So all of that will be sent also very shortly. And I see so far, Aria has said that they're a mermaid. So that's awesome. Just letting another person in before we get started. And Bellamy is a mermaid, 2 mermaids, so cool. Let's see, where are you? I don't see our second one. Okay. And then before I turn it over to Chef Sammy, who's going to lead us in our Halloween treats today, I just want to mention that we do use, to make sure we're all on the same page, we ask when you're done with something that you give us a thumbs up so we know that we're ready to move on to the next step. So we'll be using that. If a lot more people join us, it might be hard to see everybody and keep up. So just go ahead and let us know if we're going too fast and we can slow down or repeat something. All of that being said, I'm going to now turn it over to Chef Sammy, who's going to get us started.
All right. Hi, everyone. Happy Halloween. Today, we are making Halloween dirt cake cups, and we have an arrangement of different toppings. So we'll go over how to make the mousse and layer our cakes, and then I'll show you how to make 4 different kinds of toppings for your dirt desserts. All right, so let's get started. The first step, we'll need our saucepan, we'll need measuring cups. Oh, actually, oops, I got a little ahead of myself. Apologies. First, we'll need our semi-sweet chocolate chips and a bowl. And we're just gonna put all of our chocolate chips, I have 12 ounces here, into one bowl and set it aside.
Okay. Is anybody using a block of chocolate that they need to cut? I see a lot of chips. Okay, I think all chips. So we're putting
Awesome.
12 ounces.
You just pour that in your bowl there. I have mine in my bowl.
Sammy, somebody
Somebody's
has
using
a
a
block
block?
of chocolate. Yeah.
Perfect. So if you're using a block, I would, you'll probably need some assistance, but just run your knife over it a couple of times. You want to get them into smaller, uniform pieces. Doesn't have to be as small as the chips here, but you want them to be nice and uniform. So just keep running your knife over to your block until you get nice, small chunks. We don't want any that are too much bigger than the other, just because it'll take longer and melt unevenly. Okay, so take your time and do that. And for our next step, we'll need heavy cream, 1 cup heavy cream, measuring cups, and a saucepan. So we will be using some heat. This is the only time in this recipe that we are using the stove. So we'll just need some guidance, but we'll get started. So I have heavy cream. We'll need more heavy cream throughout the recipe, but at this point, we just need 1 cup. So we have our measuring cup here, and I'm going to measure until I get to the one that's on the side there. Perfect. Okay, so we have our 1 cup, and let's see if everyone is ready to start this next step. Can we get a thumbs up if you're ready to pour our cream into the stove? And
Sammy, do you know what that is in milliliters? 1 cup.
Let's see. It is about 8 ounces, and actually, I think I have it right here.
Oh,
240 milliliters.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Okay, so
wait, what's the question? Oh, sorry. I thought somebody said, yeah. Did you have a question? Quana?
You have a question, guys?
This reminds me of the time I made ice cream with my class.
Yeah, it is a similar. It's similar because it's the same ingredient.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
good call.
Yeah, very similar. Okay, so I just want to make sure before we turn on our heat, everyone's practicing our heat safety and making sure we have oven mitts or pot holders nearby, just so we're being the most careful. Okay, so I'm going to pour my heavy cream into my saucepan, and that's 1 cup or 240 milliliters. And we're going to turn our saucepan over medium high.
Sammy, there's a question in the chat.
Yeah.
That says, can I use half and half cream?
I
for this part.
See why not. Yeah, I mean, it might be different when you're whipping the cream to make it a mousse, but I feel like for this, yeah.
For this part,
the cooking,
it will work, but later we're going to whip the cream into whipped cream, and so that you need heavy cream for. Yeah. Question. And then this, I think you could also probably use like a dairy-free substitute, any kind of dairy-free like milk or cream.
Coconut creamer. Yeah.
But then for the whipping part, you would need like full fat coconut milk, I think is one of the few that actually would whip up.
Yeah, just FYI, so I have my heat on medium high, and we don't want to bring it to a full roaring boil, but we want it to have some nice bubbles and simmer across the top, just FYI. And I see a hand there. Do you have a question?
Yeah, go ahead, Abel.
Wait, it's about what temperature heat it at?
So medium. So you turn, everyone's
Okay.
stovetop is a little different, but right in the middle between high and low.
Good question.
Yep. And we'll just we have to watch our cream. We don't want it to get to a big boil. We want nice little bubbles. We want it to simmer. So it should take about a couple minutes over medium heat. And we don't have to stir too often. I'm just stirring a little bit just to make sure things are not getting scorched on the bottom, but
It kind of looks like it kind of looks like pancake batter.
Oh, really? It is. I can see why you might say that. Do you make chocolate chip pancakes?
No, but I tried potato pancakes before.
Ooh,
And-
yes, we're making
I tried it.
we're making those.
I did it in kindergarten. I also made green eggs and ham. They're actually green. Also in
Ooh.
kindergarten.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Awesome.
They're gonna
So
make
fun.
Okay, so
Oh,
you can't really tell on the camera here, but I'm noticing on my pan a bunch of little bubbles forming around the edge of the pan. That's good. That tells me that I have probably 1 or 2 more minutes before I get a nice simmer going on here. You'll notice too, if with heavy whipping cream, sometimes if you're not mixing it, there's a little layer of film that gets on top of the pan when you're boiling. That's perfectly fine. Just and I'm mixing so lightly. I'll just demonstrate like this, running my my spoon throughout the mixture very slowly just to stir it up a little bit. But I'm noticing my bubbles about to simmer nicely. So I'm gonna give mine about 1 more minute.
Because you mentioned, Sammy, that you don't want to bring the cream to a full boil, right?
Exactly. So let me show you what mine is looking like. So now this is getting a little boily. So I'm gonna turn it off. And then I'll give it a little mix, but you just want it to be nice and hot. So now that my cream is, sorry, let me turn it around. Now that my cream is heated, I'm gonna use my oven mitt, or you can use a towel or whatever. And the next step is to carefully pour your cream over your chocolate chips in the bowl, okay? So we have our cream, and you pour it over, and this will melt the chocolate chips, and we want it to get to a nice consistency. Now this is gonna require a little muscle, this next step here. So we are going to mix the warm cream and our chocolate chips together. And you can notice mine are melting kind of instantly. I don't know if you can tell yet, but it's.
Can you give us a little bit more time to catch up to you?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, this should be done whenever your cream is ready.
Yes.
So we can definitely wait once that we get to this, at the end of the step, we won't go forward yet. So whenever your cream is ready, pour it over your chocolate so that way it will melt. If your cream cools too much, then your chocolate won't melt.
Yeah.
And for anybody who just, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Kelly.
I was just going to say, for anybody who just joined us, if you have the recipe, we are just up to the step of pouring our hot cream over our chocolate chips. So 12 ounces of chocolate chips in a bowl, 1 cup of heavy cream heated in a saucepan, and then poured over your chocolate chips.
So you can notice that my cream is turning a little darker now. My chocolate is melted, but I notice there's a big lump of chocolate in the middle. We want to stir our cream our cream and chocolate mixture until it's nice and smooth. So you can see right now, I have this big chocolate river, I guess, in the middle, and we want it to all be combined. So we don't want a light part and a dark part. We want it all to be combined. So it takes a couple minutes of just regular stirring until it gets to a nice smooth texture. And yes, as soon as your cream is done, you do want to make sure it's hot and pour it over your chocolate. It's okay if we're at different paces, but we don't want the cream to cool at all before we mix it. So you can see it's much more combined. I'm gonna stir to keep stirring because I still feel a couple of little chocolate chunks in there, I guess. And I want it to be as smooth as possible. You can also use a fork or a whisk. And I'm gonna put my phone back up. 1 second. Okay. So it's nice and smooth. And you can give us a thumbs up when your cream and your chocolate is all mixed together.
Okay, so far I just see 1 thumbs up, I believe. I just need to upload the recipe, so I also am going to be not able to look at the screen for a second. So Sammy, if you want to check, or I can check when I get back to the screen.
I see 1, 2 so far. That's okay. When you're done mixing your hot cream and your chocolate, you can cover it with cover your bowl with a little bit of plastic wrap or another kind of cup, lid if you have, and put it in the fridge to cool.
Excuse me, can you repeat what you said?
Yes, I said when you're done mixing your cream and your chocolate, you can cover it with something like plastic wrap or a lid and put it in the refrigerator to cool down a little bit. We're gonna set it aside because we don't need it right at this moment.
Does tinfoil work too, or no?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Okay, I think mine is fairly mixed enough, and at this point too, it will be okay if you want to stick a finger in and taste your chocolate. Never a problem in my kitchen.
Mm.
Okay. So I'm just putting a little lid on my pan and putting it in the refrigerator. We just want it to cool down a little bit. So I know we're still waiting for some people, so now is a good time to tidy up. And if you are finished with that step, for the next step, we'll need heavy cream, another bowl, another empty bowl, and powdered sugar.
Okay, say hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Say we're the pastel twins.
Hello.
Hi.
Question?
Sorry, we're just in our pajamas.
That's okay.
That's okay.
Oh, I see you're ready for toppings. You got your Reese's. Awesome. Okay. I see some people still mixing up their chocolate. So remember, once your chocolate is mixed, it all looks the same to you, then cover it and put it in the fridge.
What's the next step after putting it in the fridge? Yeah.
So we're gonna wait a little bit for some of the other people to catch up. But if you want, you can gather your next ingredients, which is heavy cream, powdered sugar. You'll need a new bowl and a whisk of sorts. Or if you're, I'm going to demonstrate the next step, mixing by hand. but you can also, if you have a stand mixer or an electric hand mixer, you can use that instead of the whisk. We're making whipped cream for the next step.
Okay, does anybody need more time with chocolate? Don't see any, so I'm
I
assuming
need
that-
I need extra time for chocolate.
Okay.
How thick should the chocolate be?
How thick should the chocolate be?
So it should, I mean, there is a certain thickness to it. I think rather than thinking about that, you just want to make sure all your chocolate and all your cream is combined. It's kind of like it's a little thinner than a pudding. Not as like, I'm not sure how to, there is texture.
Yeah.
um,
Thicker than
but
liquid, less thick than a pudding.
yes.
And it's really just about it being combined. So as long as you don't see any of those dark spots of chocolate and lighter spots of cream,
Yep.
you should be good because it will thicken when you add it to the whipped cream. So you're good for the next step for you? No, still working. Okay, no problem. Give us a thumbs up when you're ready. Okay, everybody else is ready to start whipping some cream as soon as we hear.
Awesome. And this part will take me probably a little longer than y'all if you are using a hand mixer or a electric mixer. So it's okay if, you know, I'll probably need a little more time too. So if you're still working on this, it's okay. We can go over it.
Yeah, actually, is anybody using a whisk instead of an electric mixer or a stand mixer? If you want to raise your hand, if you're using whisk. Oh, I see you, Abel. Okay, so we have somebody who's going to be joining you in this adventure, Sammy.
Okay.
All right. It's always nice to have a friend. Let's get my wrists ready.
Yes. Okay, so I think we can move on to the next step. And then we can also, people will have time to catch up because people will be whisking at different stages as well. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so for our next step, we'll need 2 1/4 cups of heavy cream measured out. So 2 cups and then a 1/4 cup, 1/4.
Okay, so 2 1/4 cups of heavy cream, and that's a couple different measurements for you. You might just have a 1 cup, so you do 1 cup and then another 1 cup and then a 1/4 cup.
So right now I'm pouring in 2 cups and then I have to measure in another 1/4 cup myself. Actually, let me get my smaller measuring cups. Okay. So now I'm adding my 1/4 cup. And then to the heavy cream, we'll also need to add a 1/2 cup of powdered sugar.
Okay, so then I think we'll need to pause there to see when everybody has that. So when you have 2 1/4 cups of heavy cream and 1/2 cup of powdered sugar, give us a thumbs up. And I hope I didn't say that confusing. It's 1/2 cup of powdered sugar.
Mhm.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Valerie.
Oops. I'm making a mess with my powdered sugar. Just want everyone to know that. Okay. Okay, and now I have my half cup and I'm just going to sprinkle it in with my heavy cream. And I might get started mixing, Kelly, just because it's going to take me a little longer, but we're happy to go over.
Powdered sugar.
I'm sorry?
How many cups of powdered sugar?
1/2 cup of powdered sugar.
Okay, thank you.
1/2. You're welcome.
So I'm just getting started mix.
Yeah, hold on, Sammy. Abel, yes? Question?
How much of the heavy cream? It's 2 and what's the other measure?
1/4 cup.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
So once you have your sugar and your cream together, you can start whisking or mix. I'm getting tongue-tied. Whisking or mixing it together. I'm hand whisking, so it's going to take me a little longer, but if you're using a hand mixer, it should probably take you about like 4 minutes. And we want to stop mixing when we notice it gets a little stiffer, like there's peaks and it's less of a liquid and more of like a kind of foamy texture.
Okay, and you can over mix this, okay? Does anybody know what happens to cream if you over mix it? If you mix? Yeah, is that Kwana? Is that, did you have a thought about what happens to cream?
It turns into butter.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah, so that's how you get butter if you just keep whipping cream. So you don't want butter, you want whipped cream. So make sure you're going for a light, fluffy consistency and you don't go too far. If anybody wants to show us what it looks like and ask if it's done, you can do that and turn on your camera or just mute yourself, show us on the screen. Okay. If you are whisking by hand, you're gonna need some muscles or some help. So it definitely takes a lot of arm muscle to do it, but go ahead and enlist some help and you can kind of pass it back and forth so you can give yourself a rest. And again, if you're using those electric mixers, it's gonna take about 4 minutes. Yes, what's the question?
We also have a bunch of bubbles.
Yeah,
that's okay. That's a part of the process. So right now I'm hand mixing and I'm noticing a bunch of small bubbles foaming up at the top of my bowl.
good question. Because what you're actually doing is you're whipping air into it. So it's going to start with bubbles where you have air bubbles in it, and eventually it's all going to be, filled with air and get nice and light and fluffy.
Yeah, you'll notice, I'm noticing too in my bowl, my volume is starting to rise. So it's the same amount of liquid, but since that air is adding now, I notice it's getting higher in the bowl. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, don't forget to let us know if you have any questions or want us to take a look at your cream. Keep on whisking or beating it with either electric mixer, stand mixer until it looks like delicious whipped cream to you.
My arm's getting a little tired, but I see some changes happening in there. I see some progress.
Nice Rio. Do you see Rio, Sammy? That looks nice.
I did it. Let me see. Rio, hold on.
Just have to get
Can you show
switched
one more
around.
time? Rio, can you show us one more time?
Go ahead, Rio, hold that up again.
Oh, wow, that's a nice big fluffy bowl.
Does it look like it's holding its shape like whipped cream? Like you could take some out? Yeah, that looks nice.
That does look good. I noticed mine is getting a little thicker, so I see that it's sticking to my whisk a little more, but not quite whipped cream just yet. Still very liquidy.
How's everyone else doing? Is anybody either done with whipped cream, give a thumbs up, or wants us to take a look? And go ahead and hold up your bowl if you want us to look.
I'm gonna take a 2-second break. You can't stop for too long because then you feel a burn. Sorry if the sound is not great over the headphones. I can also mute myself for this part for a second.
Oh no, it's not bad. Yeah. Okay, thank you for the thumbs up. Remember to give us a thumbs up when you're done so we know how many we're waiting for. Okay, awesome. I think Erica and Fiona gave a thumbs up. I think I saw that very quickly. Yeah, okay, awesome. And Emily, Ruby, and Ian, and Meg, Kate, Cohen, and somebody whose name is cut off. I'm sorry. Oh, Eric. Got it. Thank you, thank you.
Awesome. I probably need a couple more minutes. But if you are waiting for me, you can clean up some of our other stuff. We don't need the heavy cream anymore. We don't need our sugar. If you have any wrappers or measuring cups that are dirty, you can put those in the sink.
So you always want to have a tidy kitchen and tidy working space. So anytime there's downtime, anytime there's between tasks, you want to tidy up a little bit your counter and put your ingredients away, put your used measuring cups and stuff like that in the sink, in the dishwasher.
Mine is almost there. It's definitely foamy and thickening up.
Tell me, do you have a question?
Yes, is my whipped cream good enough?
Let me see. Oh, I see it's like sliding a little. Careful, it's not gonna spill. It's kind of like split in the bowl, Sammy. So I think it probably needs a little bit more whipping.
Yeah, we want it to be nice and fluffy.
So you should be able to like turn your bowl over and it not fall out.
Yeah.
So it's almost there because I saw it was pretty well whipped up. Okay, so you don't do this unless you're really confident, but if you feel like you're going nice and slow, it's not falling out, you can tip your bowl all the way over and it's not going to fall out. That's how you know it's all whipped up.
Or if you put it on your finger, it should be like a nice fluffy.
Right, so when you're whipping whipped cream, we go by kind of peaks. So they call them stiff peaks or soft peaks. And so when you have soft peaks, it kind of like droops over, but stiff peaks will just stay the same shape. And I'm like doing this motion like you just like kind of got some on your finger to test it. That's what that is.
Okay. I might use, so I have also an immersion blender. I didn't want to use it at the start because it doesn't really aerate it doesn't really let air in the same way that a whisk does. But now that I whipped enough foam into it and my arm is nice and sufficiently tired, I'm going to just give it a little pulse of in with my mixer and catch up with you all. So 1 second, my plug is out of frame, but I will be back with maybe some cream.
Okay, and how's everybody else doing, especially those whipping by hand? Abel, how are you doing? Video went out. Anybody else whipping by hand? Oh, I think Ariel, yeah. Okay, how's yours going?
It's pretty watery.
Okay,
I just have to keep going at it.
yeah.
Really, it looks more like this.
Okay, so it is getting there. You're making progress because I see that it's foamier than not having whipped at all. But you want to have a really like fast movement to it. That's going to help you instead of just like a slower whisk around the bowl. Really get in there with like this kind of motion. Put down. Okay. All right.
I'm gonna
You can do
come
it.
back. Yeah, I have some whipping to do too. That just helped me out a little bit. Okay.
Who else? Anybody else need to check? Or is anybody else done? Thumbs up if you're done. Hold up your bowl if you want us to check.
Mine's getting a little stiffer.
Looks good, Ryu. Okay, and Lizzie's done too. Thank you everybody for the thumbs up. Thank you for your patience.
Mhm. So yeah, you notice mine is getting a little stiffer.
Is this thick enough?
Let's see.
Try to
think
move
it-
it around your bowl because I can't really tell.
Like lift up your whisk. It looks a little liquidy to me.
Yeah, I think you need a little more time.
Okay.
I think my whipped cream's done.
Who is saying that?
Okay.
Oh, there you are. Let's see. Do you want us to see? Oh, that looks good.
That's
Holding
good.
its shape. Yeah.
So mine is done as well. And you can notice it's nice and stiff. You can have ripples to it.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
So we'll give another minute for anybody who's still working on it. Really use all of your muscles in this last minute, just 60 seconds, give it all you got. Whip, 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 whip. And then we'll move on to our next step so we can finish up in time. So go ahead and keep whipping, just 60 more seconds. So for anybody who is done, Sammy, who wants to prep their station for next steps, what should they have in front of them?
So for anyone who's done, we also are going to keep a little bit of the whipped cream to the side. So if you have a small bowl, you can just put about half a cup of the whipped cream into another bowl and set that bowl aside. And then we can take our chocolate out of the fridge again. So I'm taking just like a nice little scoop of our whipped cream, putting it in a different bowl.
Okay, so the big bowl of whipped cream is going to get the chocolate incorporated, but we want to save some plain whipped cream for one of our toppings. So that's why we're separating it. So just like a little bit, a couple of scoops, like a quarter cup if you want to measure. And we have finished our minute. So hopefully we can all move on together, or we'll be able to catch up throughout. Just keep in mind, like, we're going to spend a lot of time at the end decorating, which is really flexible. So if you are still working on whipping, you have plenty of time to catch up with us. But we are aiming to be done by noon. At this point, we might go over time a little bit, but we want to keep to that as much as possible. So we're going to move on, but we can repeat ourselves for anybody who is not with us. Don't forget to scoop out your separate whipped cream if you haven't done that already.
Yep, just a small bowl, about a cup or so. Okay, so for our next step, we have now a bowl of whipped cream and a bowl of chocolate from our fridge. We want to stir our chocolate a little bit from the fridge just to make sure it's nice and loosened. You see, stir our chocolate a little bit. Okay, so just make sure it's nice and active. And now we're going to incorporate our whipped cream bit by bit. I'm just pouring about half of this into there now, into the chocolate, and lightly fold it. So we're not stirring in the same way, but we're like going underneath and just turning it around, because we want to keep that airiness in the whipped cream. So you're just going gently and turning it around gently. So it's not the same. Yes.
We have a question. Bellamy,
yes.
What question do you have?
Should it still be warm?
Good question.
It should be definitely cooled down. Is yours still warm or is it cool?
It's slightly warm.
Slightly.
So maybe you want to put it in your freezer for like 2 minutes or a couple minutes, just so it cools down a little bit, because if it's warm, it'll melt the whipped cream, and you might not get the nice moussey texture that we want.
Okay.
So just put it in the freezer for a couple minutes and then you can catch up with us, okay?
Does anybody else have warm chocolate? Is anybody else's chocolate warm is what I'm trying to say? Or I know everybody has chocolate. Does anybody feels like it's too warm to incorporate their whipped cream? Excuse me. Hands up if yes.
Excuse me, how much whipped cream do we put in the chocolate?
So we saved about a cup of it on the side, and then the rest of it we're putting in with the chocolate. Okay. So whatever amount of whipped cream you have left, we are mixing in with our chocolate. So you can notice now, we're whipping.
So
slowly.
hold on, I just want to point out, Sammy, though, that you're doing it in a couple different stages.
Oh,
right?
Yes.
You didn't put it all at once.
No, I'm not putting it all at once, but I guess I'm not really measuring either. I just put about half the first time, and then most of it the second time, and then I still have a little bit left that I'll scrape into the bowl. But I'm doing it in stages because I want to go slow, and I want to make sure I'm folding it nicely, and I also want to make sure I have room in my bowl for all of it too. So you'll notice when you add your whipped cream, your chocolate gets a nice lighter color, but we still want it to be nice and fluffy. So that's why we're moving so slow.
Yep. If you mix something, yeah, go ahead, Abel.
Sorry, how much of the whipped cream should we have left?
So we are keeping about a half a cup of the whipped cream on the side, and what the remaining larger portion of whipped cream is all getting folded into the chocolate.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. So now I'm just scraping the last bits of my whipped cream from the bowl, from the large bowl, and putting it in.
Okay, and Chef Sammy was just pointing out that she's now mixing very delicately, very softly. So this is the opposite of when we were whipping our cream really, really fast. Now we want to be careful not to knock out all the air we just whipped in. So we're doing very slow motions and folding it in slowly instead of a big mix.
Yep. My last portion. So yeah, we do want it all to be combined. So right now you can see I have some like streaks of white and darker parts of the chocolate. We want it to all be combined. but again, we could take our time getting there.
And for this, it's a little bit easier to actually do with like a wooden spoon or a rubber spatula rather than a whisk. So if you have a different tool, if you have a spoon or a spatula, that's a little bit easier to mix these two together.
So mine is pretty combined. I'll give it a few more stirs. So you want, it's good, like a nice soft, kind of like cake batter, I guess. Or a nice soft pudding.
Mm. It looks so good.
It kind of looks like a mousse cake.
Yeah,
It
that's
is a
what we're
chocolate
going
mousse.
for. Yeah, good call.
So,
A mousse pudding.
so once your mousse is all, and it's okay if you're not done yet, but if you are done, you can cover it up again and put it back in the fridge.
Yep. And so if you wanted to make this another time on your own and a little bit simpler, you could actually just substitute store-bought chocolate pudding. So that would totally work here. But this is a little bit more fun.
And if you are done and you put it in the fridge, tidy up your area.
Okay, see a lot of good mixing going on, a lot of good mousses forming. Good job, everyone. Okay, who's done mixing their whipped cream and chocolate? Thumbs up if you're done with that step. Oh, Jake and sorry, Jack and James. Thank you, Meg, Kate, Cohen, and Eric, and Lizzie. And Kwana, I think I saw a thumbs up. Yeah.
I'm done.
Awesome. Thank you.
Try some.
Yeah, it's yummy.
Yeah, you can totally try some of your chocolate mousse. Thank you, Ryu. So it seems like we're a little bit more than halfway, just a couple people still working. So what are you getting ready for next? What should everybody who's done, what should they do?
So next we're gonna assemble some ghost little toppings. So keep your half cup of the whipped cream out. And if you have a plate or a tiny baking tray, just something that's flat, you can take it out. And I wrapped mine in parchment paper, but you can use wax paper, parchment paper, a silicone pad, just something that doesn't allow the ghost to stick to the plate or pan. And next we're going to make little ghosts.
Do we put it back in the refrigerator?
You can put the chocolate mixture back in the refrigerator, but keep your half cup
Kind
of
of
whipped
froze.
cream. Oh, can you hear me now?
So we can hear you, Sammy. I think maybe
Okay.
Abel's internet is actually freezing.
Mm.
So
Mm.
yeah, his image is frozen. So once he comes back, I'll let him know.
Awesome.
Okay.
Oh,
Wait, what did you say? You
there
guys
you go.
froze.
Yeah. So you want to put your mousse in the fridge when it's done,
Okay.
the chocolate mousse, but
Okay,
keep
we-
the small whipped cream
Covered?
out.
Okay,
Covered,
what
yeah.
about covered?
Yep, you
Is it
can
on?
cover it.
Okay.
Yep. I see some people finishing up too, putting things in the fridge and everything. So next steps, as a reminder, is to grab either a plate or a small baking tray, and parchment paper or wax paper. We're going to be making some ghosts or a ghost out of the whipped cream we saved on the side. Okay, Sammy, and we are running out of time pretty quickly. So I would get us all started on that now.
All right.
Bellamy, has a question?
What do we do with the parchment paper?
So
You
you
wanna-
just lay the parchment paper flat on your pan or your plate. Okay. So if everyone can just look here, it's okay if you're still mixing, but I put a little spoonful of our whipped cream on to the parchment paper, and we're just going to shape it into whatever kind of ghost we want. So we can do, I'm flattening out the top, and then this might be a little big, but that's okay. Just want a little ghost shape, you know. Let's see. And I have a little chopstick here just to help me. Probably not the best ghost you've ever seen, honestly, but whatever a ghost looks like to you, you know, most ghosts don't have a standard form, I guess.
Exactly. Get creative.
Right. But you just want to have a little ghost shape. Maybe use a little less whipped cream than I did. But just little blobs of white. And then you'll put, if you have candy eyes, on top. One.
So especially for our ghost, you can use a lot of different things for eyes. So if you have some extra chocolate chips or, you know, like food, you know, like icing, or sprinkles, or, you know, really anything that looks like an eye to you.
Right. So we have two little ghosts, or one big ghost and one little ghost here.
So cute.
And once you make them, and you can make as many, I still have some extra whipped cream left, but for time's sake, I'm only gonna make these two. But you can make as many little ghosts as you like, and we're gonna put them in the freezer for until the end of the recipe. We want them, when you freeze the whipped cream, they get nice and airy and solid. So we will be able to use them as decoration. So now I'm putting my ghost in the freezer. And I'm going to, just for the sake of time, get started on the next step. But of course, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. So for our next step, you can use a food processor if you'd like, but you need Oreos. I'll demonstrate doing it with what are they called? A rolling pin. Just clean my area a little more. Okay. So you'll need a bag if you're not using a food processor. A pack of Oreos. I'm gonna put all my Oreos in the bag.
So in our recipe, I think we said 40 Oreos, which I think is like a
How
full
much
pack.
Oreos?
What's the question?
How much Oreos?
So in our recipe, we said 40 Oreos, which I think is supposed to be a full pack. So it depends on how many cups you really want to make. So you could do a full pack in a big bag and crush them. Or if you wanted to use a little bit less, you could use half a pack of Oreos.
Yep. So I have my Oreos. I'm only making a couple. So I have my Oreos in the bag. I'm letting a little bit of the air out of the bag just so I can roll nicely. And you just kind of want to, you can get a little.
How many Oreos do you put?
So I
So you
use the
can do
single.
them- yeah.
Go ahead.
So you can use how many ever you want. Sammy just did a single sleeve of Oreos. So if you have a full pack, like they usually have like 3 or 4 rows, you can do the whole thing. Yeah, Abel. So it depends on how many cups you're making. If you want to use all of them, you can use all of them. We're going to do 2 layers in each cup. So I think for that, you'd probably want like at least 2 sleeves. And by sleeves, I mean rows, like rows. Or you can use the full pack.
And the goal for the Oreos, you want them to be nice and crushed up. Yeah, it's okay if there's some bigger chunks. They don't all have to be the same exact size. But you want them to be nice and crumbled so we get the appearance of dirt. So you notice I've been rolling it, I banged it a little bit, I crushed it with my hands. You can do either, it works with you. You can also use a food processor.
I see Jack and James are using a masher. They're smashing on top of their Oreo bag, which is another great way to do it. You could use the rolling pin. You could use a pan and smash it, a sheet pan like that too, as long as you don't get your fingers. Just crush them up. Or you can actually just use your hands too. It depends on what size you want your Oreos to be.
Okay, Kelly, my Oreos are crushed. Shall I start
Awesome.
assembling my cups? And I'm gonna assemble 4 cups,
Yeah.
so I can start and explain along the way. But if you're still crushing your Oreos, that's okay. I'm sure you'll catch on
I
by
think
the time I'm
that
done.
Chef Sammy is gonna start showing you how to assemble, because I'm confident that even if you're still working on this step, that you'll be able to follow her directions later, or that you'll catch up by the end. So she's gonna start assembling and talking you through it, but don't stress if you're not exactly up to this part.
Yeah, I'll assemble, but I'll save the decorations for last. So I'm gonna assemble my 4 cups. And essentially, you just want to layer your mousse with your cookie crumble. And there's a couple ways to, yes.
What do we do after we make our ghost?
So you put your ghosts in the freezer after you make them. And then you can crush your cookies. So I'm going to spoon carefully my layers of mousse into the bottom of each cup, my first layer. And if you want, like we say in the recipe, if you want a neater kind of edge, you can use a piping bag or something so the mousse won't get on the edges of the cup. But for me, I guess I don't really mind having mousse on the edge of my cup right now.
Yeah, it's all gonna taste the same and delicious.
So I'm adding just about 2 spoonfuls of mousse on the bottom of each cup. And also, so we're doing individual ones and to highlight the different kind of decorations you want. But if you ever wanted to make this again, or if you're making this now, you can also do it in one big bowl and layer it the same way if you're making a larger portion, and decorate the full top in like a big Halloween scene. Up to you. So I added some mousse to each of my, and now I'm going to add a layer of the cookie crumble. And I'll show you a close-up of what it looks like when I do my first ones.
So basically just layering, right? So you're doing the mousse and then the cookies and the mousse and then the cookies.
Exactly. Okay. So this is what my first 2 layers look like. I have, you can tell, some mousse, some cookies, and now I'm going to add another 2 spoonfuls of the mousse right on top. Mine are getting a little on the edge, but I guess that's a little spooky. Spooky little
Yeah, it's
mess
true.
in there. All right.
So anybody
So
who
then
just
I-
happened to join us, we are just finishing up class actually, but the recording is going to get emailed out this afternoon since there was a lot of people on our wait list and everything. So you can follow along with what we're doing now, but you'll get the whole recording later.
Mhm. So now after I added my layer of mousse, I'm adding some more chocolate chips. I mean, Oreos to each one. And then I will show you a couple different decorations. And if you want to pause where you're at to watch me decorate, that's totally fine.
Yes, Ariel?
What do we have to do with the pudding after we take it out the freezer again?
Good question.
So after you take the pudding out of the freezer, well, the pudding should be in the refrigerator, not the freezer. But I'm sorry. And
Yeah,
then,
so
oh yeah, so after we take the pudding out of the refrigerator, we are just assembling them in our cups in a layer between. So it's a layer of the mousse and then a layer of the cookie crumble, a layer of the mousse and then a layer of the cookie crumble.
Supposed to be the mousse.
I'm sorry?
yeah, the chocolate and the whipped cream we're calling a mousse or a pudding. So you're gonna layer that with your crushed up cookies. So Sammy, maybe you could hold up one of your cups to just show
Yep.
what they look like. So you
Will
do
do.
mousse, pudding, whatever we're calling it,
Oh, we
cookies,
put
mousse,
them
cookies.
at the thing. They put these cookies in the pudding.
Yep.
So you want
So-
to put them in these individual cups. Do you have small cups like this?
Okay, so this one's a little
What?
messy.
What? Wait, cup like these cups?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I do. Like,
So you
what
want
am I-
to So you
Yeah,
want
put
to
some-
scoop some pudding into the bottom of the cup of each of the cups that you're making, and then put some cookies on, and then scoop more pudding and put cookies on.
Oh, okay, like a layered cake.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay, so you can see now my tops are not as neat, but that's okay. It's spooky. I have a layer in there, but since I had only a single sleeve of cookies, you can see my pudding kind of took over. But I have my layers on the top of each one. And now I'll demonstrate how to do a couple of designs. So if you want to pause where you're at and watch me demonstrate how to make these designs, that's totally fine. All right. So for our first design, we're going to make a little bat. So take a Reese's cup cookie. I mean, I guess candy. And peel the layer off. I know everything's brown here, so it might be a little hard to see. But okay, I have my Reese's cup and I have my candy eyes. I'm going to put 2 candy eyes, just press them a little bit so they stuck to the Reese's, like that. And then I'm going to take an Oreo. So I have Oreo here, and I'm just going to take I split the Oreo apart, and the side with no cream, just break that in half a little bit so we get some wings, kind of. Oh, sorry, I don't know if you can tell. And then we'll put our Reese's in the cup and then put the wings behind My cup is a little sunken, so I wonder if you're gonna get the full appeal, but you place the Reese's, the Oreos behind the wings, like that, and you make a little bat. Can everyone
So
see
cute.
that? So
Yeah,
that's
that
one.
looks awesome. And if you're
of our
having trouble
designs.
getting it to stay up, then you might want to do like a final layer on top of mousse. It might be easier to get the stuff into. But you can see like you're kind of leaning it against the cup too. So
Yeah,
however you
I
wanna
lean
make
mine
it work.
against the cup too. And I feel like if you have a shallower bowl, it might be different, but my cup is pretty tall, so it's sunk in a little bit. Okay, so for our next kind of design, we're gonna make a monster. So I have the other half of my cookie, and this is like a mint Oreo cookie here. And I'll have some more candy eyes. And this, for the monster, we want it to be scary. We want it to have a bunch of different eyes. So you can do one eye, you know, or you can do 3 eyes, just so it can be a little spooky. You know, and you can add 4 eyes, you know, you can keep going as much as you want, depending on how many little eyes you have, I guess. But here, let's give it 5 just for fun. So we have our monster with many eyes. And now we also put that in our dirt dessert. So we have a monster here. We have a little bat. And then next one, this one's pretty standard for if you ever heard of a dirt dessert before, but I'm just gonna clean my edges a little bit. The chocolate. But this one, we're using gummy worms. And you can do this a bunch of ways. You can like stick them in and have them stand up, you know. You can lay one across like that. You want it to look like a little garden. And then I have these candy pumpkins here. And you could just put them in like a little pumpkin patch or a garden.
Okay.
So we have our worms, we have our pumpkins. That one's pretty nice and simple. And last but not least, I'm gonna check if our whipped cream is frozen enough for our tiny ghosts. Let's see. Oops, I think I can start to peel this off maybe. Okay, I'll just use my little one, but we have a little ghost here. This is our frozen one from the freezer. And then also just put that in there.
Those ghosts came out so cute.
Yeah, no, they're super easy. I feel like mine is still a little softer. Maybe I could use 5 more minutes or so in the freezer, but here it is. Nice. So we have our bat, our ghost, our monster, and our garden patch.
Does
and of
anybody
course,
have any done that they want to show too? Hold them up if you have any done. Everybody must still be working. Okay.
And there's so many different ways you can get creative with it. If you end up doing something else, we would love to see what you make.
Yeah, so definitely send us your pictures, tag us on social media. I'll put those links, emails, and stuff in the chat one more time for you. Does anybody have any questions about completing their dirt cups on their own, finishing them up, the toppings, the layerings, anything? Let us know.
Can I show mine?
Mine.
Of course.
So this is the Cyclops one.
Awesome. Very cool. I like that you put your pumpkin in there too.
This is the wolf one with a ghost.
So creative. Awesome. Wolf.
So cool.
And this is the Rise of Gummy one.
Nice.
Okay.
Love.
Okay, awesome. Anybody else wants to share? Definitely show us what you made. I just put into the chat again where you can send your pictures to, but you all should have received an email from me anyway. You'll get an email from me later with the recording. Those look awesome. Jack and James, I love them. They look like you did some RAP tombstones as well.
Oh,
with some
I like
writing.
those. Those
So
are cool.
yeah, you can definitely do your own toppings. We just showed you some of the ones that we did. If you got some toppings kit from us, you have the ones to do what we made. Yeah, I think any other questions? Everyone feels good to complete this on their own? Yeah. Okay. Oh, those look awesome. Marley, great job.
So cool.
Amazing. Okay, well, everybody, I know you're still working, so carry on finishing up your dirt cake cups on your own, and send us your pictures, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your Halloween.
Happy
Then we'll
Halloween,
see you
everyone.
next time.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for cooking with us.
Bye. Happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween.
Bye.